Hello and welcome to Porous Borders. This is episode 13. I'm Andrew, and today on the show I'm speaking to my friend Rembo from Deathless and Doomwood Guitars. Rembo is a musician, a guitar builder, and a live sound engineer from Bandung in West Java, Indonesia. And he's also been a label owner, an event organizer, and a venue manager in the past. Rembo got his start in music when he was in high school, and he and his friends got together and saved their pocket money for a whole year so that they could put on a DIY gig in a sports hall. Following that, he started working as a live sound engineer, and he started the post-metal band Vrosk, which toured around Indonesia and Southeast Asia. More recently, Rembo has been focusing on a solo project called Deathless and getting into the Euro rack world. If you follow him on Instagram, you can see some of the setup he's putting together for that project. A few weeks ago, Deathless released a new album, Search Destroy, which is a live recording of an improvised set that Rembo played with 3 other musicians from Bandung back in 2018. The album was recorded by Rembo and by my friend and bandmate Chris Prindle from Leavings, and you can check it out on the Blank Orb Recordings Bandcamp page. Rembo is also a guitar builder, and he has a company called Doomwood Guitars. If you want to know more about that, you can check the show notes for a link to an interview I did with him for Reverb.com about 2 years ago. The guitars he builds are really amazing instruments, and if you're looking for a custom build, you might want to drop him a line. This episode was recorded a few months ago, and after the interview, Rembo was kind enough to record an improvised modular performance, especially for the podcast, so you can hear that in full at the end of the episode. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you again next week.
Yeah, it was started in high school when I interested in various kind of music, mostly punk and hardcore, then some like oi music. Like it's very wide because I have a lot of friends with different musical tastes. So yeah, I started for them.
Yeah, and this was like mid-90s in
Yeah,
Bandung?
it was during my junior high school in the mid 90s and up to high school, but I'm more active starting in high school because I found a lot of friends that have they already dig about music, like underground music, like punk, hardcore. Some of them also like black metal music.
And I guess like your earliest activity in the scene in Bandung was organizing gigs, right?
Yeah, it was start when I was in high school because most of my senior are doing it, like it's a kind of like a legacy in my high school that we have the activity outside of the school, and then all the people that interested in music and then gather together to share about their uh, uh, reference of music, and then some of the start bands, and then that's also including me, and then we also do organize our own show, like that how it start, and then when it's getting bigger, we doing it, we having more bands just outside our like what's called community, like in high school, like other school bands from other school joining, like our senior that have like more well-known band, being well-known band, are support us that they don't need to be paid to be play at our shows. Yeah, that's how it started.
And the shows you organized at that time had a lot of people coming to them, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a really different time in the scene in Indonesia, right?
Yeah, that's when I think that's the golden age of the. It was called underground music back here then. No, not now more into like independent or indie, but with almost the same DIY ethos that working. Yeah, we are able to hold one like annual festival. It's kind of like festival because like 20 to I think more than 20 bands are playing that day. So it started at noon and then until midnight.
Yeah, so to set the scene, I guess you would, um, like, if you wanted to put on a show, a bunch of people would get together and pool their money.
Yeah, yeah. So we have a lot. It's called like member. So we have this kind of like membership because we want to keep our uh, purpose of making the festivals or the shows is being successful, and then that's mean we need to collect the money to to have a really good, like, it's not really good at the time, it's like good sound system, and then able to pay the venue itself, and then to organize, and then so we saving our like pocket money.
Yeah.
Like high school boys, like having the money all year long, and then it's very successful.
So you save all year long just to rent the venue.
Yeah.
And
So
the sound system.
we collect it I think every week that we have someone that being the in charge of collecting all the money. Yeah, and then after 1 year, we have able to rent everything.
So if you were a kid here and you went to a show that you guys organized at that time, what would you see there?
Is like nowadays it's more easy to set up shows because because at that time is just the early beginning of the first wave of independent music in Bandung or in Indonesia. It started by our seniors that they started since like late 80s to early 90s, but it becoming very very active in the mid to late 90s to the early 2000s. Yeah, so that's when my generation, which is I think the second wave of the independent music in Indonesia, especially in Bandung, coming, and then we are just like fresh graduate from the high school, and then
And the show that at that time probably would be in a big sports hall or not a music venue.
It's called in Bandung. There's a legendary hall called Saparua, but it's like originally it's a sports hall, like people playing like basketball, volleyball there, and then we can rent it and then make a show there because it been since the 95 or 96 that other kids are set up shows there, and then so from the senior we know that where we need to contact the guy that responsible for the venue, and then how much it costs to rent it, and then we have our friends in high school that he's part-time at sound system company. That's really awesome for a high school kid. So that bring us to have a more like discounted sound system and the backline at that time.
So when I was in high school in Australia, and we would have like DIY all ages hardcore shows, You would maybe see like 50 kids there,
Yeah.
or if it's a big band, maybe a few hundred kids.
So
What's
when
it like?
I started, mostly is a studio show
Right.
because we just rent the studio with all of the music equipment inside,
Mm.
and we tell like we wanna do a rehearsal or like we're gonna have audition, but it's not. It's a gig. So it's very common at that time to use rehearsal space as a gig. So
Mm.
it's called like studio show,
Mm.
and then that's also the basic like foundation for me to set up a gig because I think up until 2015 I'm still doing the studio show with my
Mm.
friend.
Right.
So we just doing it.
Yeah.
But we also doing like bigger shows. But yeah, some other friends that from out of the city that they just very happy if they can doing like in a rehearsal space or
Mm.
something like having like 20-30 kids inside like super pack,
Yeah.
but it's very intimate.
Yeah.
It's a intimate concert.
Yeah. And
But
the Saparua shows you guys organized.
yeah, it
What
was
that?
it was crazy. Like
Yeah.
we hope like 1,000 people show up, but it turns like 3,000 people. Like people are like just coming outside of the venue. They just like hanging out because they cannot get inside because it's less than 2,000 people capacity.
Mm.
Like it's like 1,000 plus is already packed. Like
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, it's very common at that time because of there's also when uh the music that being more popular in Indonesia is because of we have like more like television that's around the MTV
Mm.
kind of uh, start, and then we have like more influence there, and then some friends that able to correspondence with the label from the overseas, and then they start like they own like fanzine, distro, and
Mm.
yeah, that kind of stuff, and then that's make our reference of music is becoming wider.
Mm. So, your first big band that you were in was Vrosk, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've I'm playing in a few different band, but my kind of like more that I really want to do in years is making like a sludge band because
Mm.
I was listening, like I remember early 2000 I was listening to Neurosis, like band like ISIS
Mm.
and some other band that we've listening, but we don't able to playing at that time because they it's a like down tune, it's like having like heavier string at that time. When I was in college I don't have that uh, knowledge of how to creating that big sound, but after a while, yeah, I able to start my band with friends. Yeah, it's called Frost. Yeah,
Mm. So you guys were trying to do something along the lines of the post-metal scene that was coming out of
yeah. At that
America.
time, no, I think no other bands playing
Mm.
the kind of style like sludge kind of doom
Mm.
band. Most of people like into the hardcore, and then that's also when the time some bands also play more uh what's called more complicated like metalcore something like that, but it's still in the term of hardcore, like people can still sing it. But when they see like a sludge band, and then like we have like more down tempo, but it's heavy, but it's not like it's not like hardcore music like very aggressive.
Yeah.
uh, and then we don't have the time to doing to have a show at our own community because they're not there at that time.
Yeah.
So we are always play at hardcore shows, and
Mm.
then like imagine like full house venue with bunch of hardcore kids. They just like standing or sitting, they just
Yeah.
sing like then don't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's heavy, but it's so slow, and then like it's so they don't understand at the time.
Can't mosh.
Not much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but most of the hardcore kids or hardcore band that playing that time that we are able to making friends, they are asking what the reference of our music, and then we start the conversation because we doing like Java and Bali tour. We're not playing in Bali that time. We playing Java. Yeah, we canceled the Bali show, but mostly friends in Jogja, Solo, yeah, and other cities like Malang. Or yeah, I've been able to making friends with them, and then I start. Yeah, they start to asking for reference of music.
Right, right.
Yeah, and then there's been able, and also some friends from Jakarta too, because we also playing in Jakarta a few times, and then that's when other bands start, our other friends like start playing, like similar stuff in Jakarta, and then yeah.
What were some of the other bands that you saw pop up after you guys?
It's not much, but some of the friends that have that the same taste of music, like our friends from Kelawar Malam, they playing like goth, punk, like horror kind of thing.
Yeah.
They almost have the same uh, reference, but they're not playing it like our like
Yeah.
stuff. But we are making it friends with them, like our friends from Jakarta, like bands like Jelaga. They kind of playing more like this style of like Mastodon, like early Mastodon. Some other bands like High on Fire, and then yeah, it's not very similar stuff, but we have the almost like same.
Did you guys ever play with Ghost, or was that a band that
Yeah.
started after?
Yeah, it was. I think it was in 2000 and so I start know Uri from the mid 2000. Yeah, around the MySpace era.
Yeah.
So I was in the other band before, but able to be making friends with Ghost when they released their first album, and then that's also when I realized that there's bands playing like different, like almost similar that what we do, and then but this band more like we kind of like more raw kind of style. We are more like very very heavy kind of stuff, but like Ghost is more like it's more the music is more like very tidy. They like
Yeah.
very very good, and then I realized they only two two
Yeah.
people on the band.
Yeah.
Uri playing guitar and Edo playing drums, and then yeah, during the first year that I able to know in person, and then that's when we start the networking to do our own tour
Right.
with Ghost, Kelawar Malam, and I am David Sparkle from Singapore.
Right.
So yeah, and then that's when, because I have the ability to set up shows, having friends, because most of the Frost members are also doing similar thing, like they can set up shows, uh, knows the how to set up sound system and stuff. So at that time we are set up these shows for Frost, Ghost, and David Sparkle, and also yeah, Kelawar Malam, and then playing in Jakarta, Bandung, Yogyakarta, and then I think and then Bali, yeah, four city, and then yeah, that's when we start this bigger like influence to more friends, and then that inspire them to start their own bands, like more into like doom sludge kind of stuff.
Yeah.
yeah, and then the following 2 to 3 years, there's like various bands like coming, like more like psychedelic, like Sigmund is also coming before. They were in the same band before, but with a different name, but with the term of the Sigmund, and then I just like wow, and then yeah, making friend with them, tour with them, yeah, and then also our friends bands called Alice. They was like at first they playing like kind of like more like aggressive, hardcore, like chaotic, and then they have like the huge of, fans of Converts and Dillinger Escape Plan, and then we have like similar uh, music reference, and then that's we are, and then we are a good friend with them, and then we set up another tour. Yeah, that's when uh, the also the media are looking for finding out of what kind of new music is it, but is well, in Indonesia it's like new,
Yeah.
and yeah,
And now in Bandung, the kind of drone doom sludge psychedelic
yeah,
thing is quite a big
it's
part
quite
of the
big.
city's music identity,
That's
right?
that's the funny thing is that's when Frost is we taking a break when the music is starting to be big, because like a lot of kids trying to book us shows or tour, but we don't able to doing it just after the Sage of Haze tour with Orange Cliff. At that tour also we cannot play like full because of the member that cannot play on the weekend because they
Right.
need to work on the weekend, some of the, so we need to find our friend that to replace them.
Right.
And then yeah, it's not like it's we are on the tour, we are the headline, but we're not playing all the shows. And
Yeah.
then that's a bummer also for
Yeah.
some friends in like in Kediri and then in Surabaya asking, hey, why do you guys don't come here? Because we don't have any member. There's one show that only two member that available, only me and
Right.
Agan the vocalist, and then we have that one from another band Howl to playing drums, and then he just have one time to doing rehearsal and then
Right.
play. Yeah, and then sometimes we play as 4 piece, sometimes 3 piece, like sometimes five of us playing. But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
But at the time when the music getting bigger, that's when we taking break. But the individual member keep playing on the other bands. Yeah, and then I doing stuff with my own. Just before I was in in Frost, that when we starting Frost, I was already in Deathless playing my own stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I back to do Deathless, and then I think that's one tour that I turned Deathless into bands, like full bands, and then we playing like psychedelic sludge and stuff,
Right.
and doom and stuff. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. So after Vrosk finished or took a break,
Yeah,
you focused a bit more on
on my
playing
own stuff.
solo projects.
Yeah,
Which is Deathless,
Yeah.
and Deathless has had a few different kind of um, like you have experimented with
Yeah.
a lot of different sounds.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's when the initial, cause I listen a lot of experimental bands in the early 2000, that more and more experimental bands come up from the States and from the Europe, and then I've listened a lot to them, and then I would just want to doing my own stuff. I always like God Flash, uh, and then JK Flash, and then the stuff that he's doing, and then uh, I like also some of noise artists like Mersbow, yeah, and then like and then I just want to combine it all. Uh, and yeah, it started when in 2007, I think, when I start recorded. Is on a rehearsal space, like
Yeah.
is rehearsal studio.
Yeah.
But at that time they have the computer to doing like multi-track recording, so they have the mic and then some DI box inside and then just doing
Mm.
things there. Yeah,
Mm.
that's when the first album.
Mm. So the earlier, well, I know you have a few albums that haven't been released yet, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The beginning you were doing
Hmm?
more of a drone doom
Yeah.
kind of thing.
I always interested in like live looping.
Mm.
So the basic of my drone stuff is all about the loop,
Mm.
like continuous loop, and then I play around with effects and then some making noise from the effect itself, and then yeah, that's the start. And then it's very, when I started, it's very simple because I found the Boss DD3 can it have the whole
Yeah.
mode that you can, like basically loop or like drone, like put the note and then hold it and then it becoming like continuous like sound, and then that's my basic drone setup, and then play around with the effects. But it's very hard because you need to hold, and then I find out that there's another delay pedals that can do like longer looping, and then with the effects, and then that's from the Line 6 DL4 when that came out. It's like one of the best delay pedal loop, but it's also expensive at that time.
Yeah.
For kids like me.
Yeah.
And then I able to switch, and then saving money, and then switch to DL4. And then that's when the real experimental kind of stuff going on, like very big. And then I'm a huge pedal, what's called gear head, something like collect like all these pedal, like almost all the guitarists in the world that really care about their sound, that they collect a bunch of pedal. That when I started. But at that time I was also into the circuit bending, so I like to broke things, open it up, and then doing things with that. Mostly like toys, like kids keyboard and stuff, because I know that I need like sound generator or noise generator, and then I need to start it up with something. So that's when the circuit bending also doing work. I also do my, because I don't have amps at the time, I'm making my own amp. So my parents give me money for set up a PC.
Yeah.
So the store give me this like old Logitech, like it's very like cheap Logitech speakers, like two-way speakers, like stereo. So I just open it up, making it into an amp.
Wow.
So that's my first amp. It's not a real amp, but it's like making noise. And then that's the time when the exploration going more crazier, that I able to add more speakers, cause the I I turns into that speaker into an amp, like a tiny amp, and then add extra speaker on it, and then I using it as a feedbacker to the guitar that I have. So I take a long cable, I solder it, I put it extra small speaker, and I put it into the pickup, and I just playing around, and then it's making a continuous feedback. That's when I started, oh, this is my own stuff, and then that's when I start recording. And then I also interested in doing like percussive kind of thing. I don't have like groove box or other, cause like I don't afford that at the time, and then uh, I was helping my friend fix an amp, like old crate amp,
Mm.
and then it turns out have a reverb on inside. It was a spring reverb, and then I able to fix it, and then said the to my friend that I cannot fix the reverb because of uh, uh, the the spring that's half loaded is like already, already broken, and then it's not gonna working properly, and then end up he giving me the spring reverb. It's quite big spring reverb. It's an acoustic spring reverb, and then I turned that into one of the instrument, because I found out that uh, after I found out that speakers can generate sound, it can capture sound, and I said like, can spring reverb, the spring tank can be also capture a sound, and I trying it like, wow, is it can we have the springy kind of thing out from that, and then I trying to put it on the bunch of effects, and then like it becoming more interesting, and then that's when I have my real setup there.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, and then I bring that to the rehearsal space and then record my first one.
Mm.
It lot of feedback and everything.
Mm.
Yeah.
So since then, you've branched out into using synthesis, and you've
Mm.
performed in a lot of different formats as
Yeah.
well, with band members or collaborators, or
Collaborators,
people
yeah.
you invite. And just recently, you've started getting into modular.
The Eurorack
Yeah.
system. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It during the time that my setup is becoming bigger and bigger, and then I have more members to be as collaborator in Deathless. Uh, it becoming the burden,
Yeah.
because I it just ridiculous, like bunch of stuff, and then when I playing like out of town, it's becoming very hassle to bring everything there, and then sometimes the additional member or the collaborator that I already prepare the setup for them, like the effects and the guitar, so they just only play them,
Mm.
and I need to carry them all. So yeah, that's when the evolution of the setup is started. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So uh, it's becoming. I was very interested in synthesizer. As same as I see guitars, but only guitars that I can afford, and then the pedals, and then after get uh, I get money from the work, I able to save some money to buy my own synthesizer.
Mm.
Yeah, that's when my curiosity become bigger and bigger,
Mm.
and then I found out that yeah, you can do the sound from the synthesis, and then yeah, and then still I have still the same kind of process, but it's only different instrument.
Mm.
Yeah.
And just a lot of exploration. It's really
Exploration,
a
yeah.
platform for exploring.
Yeah,
right?
because I also doing it a lot with friends. Sometimes when friends coming, and then my setup is always like theirs in the room sitting, and then it's on, and then I asking them to sit down, and then playing for them,
Mm.
and then yeah, and then they said like I need to start, my own perform in front of people, and then that's when the some of these shows that I playing, like
Mm.
yeah, more like into the noise shows, like experimental kind of thing.
Mm. I know you've been a sound man for a long time as well, right?
Yeah.
And I think in Bandung especially out of most of the cities in Indonesia, you can see there's a lot of like very high production values
Yeah,
at
yeah.
gigs here. Has it always been that way, or have you seen that change over the?
It's very funny because my career as a performer and as a person behind like bands or shows is almost be on the same, but the portion is bigger when I being like helping friends or bands to playing on the shows rather than I'm playing as myself as a performer. So during that almost the same time that I explore all the sound, that I also able to learn about the uh, doing the sound engineering, and then that's when I start helping friends. Yeah, and that's when I also work as a technician, either technician or like a sound guy in front of house or in monitor, that I being you know in that industry for 15 years. And then that's also my sometimes being my job, my main job, but sometimes I also have some other work. Yeah, but mostly doing sound. Yeah.
One of the things about Bandung music scene is that it's really difficult to find venues or places to play for
Yeah,
events, right?
yeah,
You were part of managing a venue called
yeah,
Spatial for a while.
yeah.
Can
For
you
a while,
tell
yeah.
me the story of that place?
Yeah, I always interested in set up shows where either is a sound system or just organize or just also to to hold everything under one. And then that's that time that I able to see the venue that I always work I mean like set up shows. And then that's the one of the first experience that I do is in Spatial. There was like one of the uh, rental the space, and then able to know them, and then work with them for 2 years. Yeah, yeah. At that time, the space didn't have anything, like it's just only space, and then like the office, and then management, and then the equipment is sometimes we rented. And then that I think the most effective and then ideal is to have our own like equipment, like backline sound system, and then like the expo uh thing that we need, like projector, like all this like chair and table, and then we need to own it by ourselves. And then yeah, we managed to doing it. And then during the 2 years period, we have also able to hold more than 3,300 shows.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot. Yeah, some of most memorable, and then some of the great concert being held there.
Yeah.
From various band.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I also able to help friends to set up shows. Sometimes we doing like small shows, like when friends in Jogja doing the Jogja noise bombing, and then some of the performer want to visit Bandung and playing, like we can immediately set up shows, like
Yeah.
just like as easy as that.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it's not only about the music. It's like sometimes we hold uh like discussion, seminar, like other that being collaboration with local community. Yeah.
I wanted to give you a chance to talk a bit about your guitar company, Dumud.
Yeah.
So you've had the company for a while, right?
Yeah.
Making instruments for mostly Bandung and Jakarta
Bandung,
musicians?
Jakarta, yeah, and then some friends from overseas as
Mm.
well.
And now you're kind of spending a bit more time
Yeah.
on the company, right?
Yeah. So I always interested in guitars and other instrument because I playing guitars and bass for a while. And I also end up collecting the guitars, and then when I into the vintage kind of gear, then I collecting all the famous Fender Gibson models, and then it never like suit me the best. Like I don't found my sound through the instrument that I bought from store. So I end up like replacing the pickups, the parts, everything. It just completely uh, apart from what it is, and then it just only a slab of wood, and then that's when I start learning how the guitar works, and then that make me interested to build my own. Yeah, because at that time it it sounds like I have like so many things going on, like when I'm doing my own stuff,
Yeah.
and then I'm doing sound for helping bands, and then also doing some creative work as a daily job, and then I start doing guitars. Uh, it just because of I have like a lot of things in my mind, and then I'm kind of like a person that want to try everything, and it looks like not everything is very successful, but in the end I really like to doing it. It's been a while since I start a Doomwood. The name is coming just like that. It's just like I wanna do something, and then it will be named Doomwood, and then I wanna make like a amp company, and then making like custom cabinet, and then it will be called Doomwood, and then and then I wanna make guitars. It's just like because my I was in design school before, and then I dropped out to start my own company. At the time, it was a clothing company, basically. Yeah, and then it was is it was really good at the time, but I don't be able to doing it like with all of my passion, because it just like to making money, and then end up the line is went to bankrupt, and then that's also the time that I start working with bands.
Right.
Yeah, and yeah, so the guitar that I made is also being using by the guitarists that playing in the bands that I helping. So I just asking them, can you try my guitars on stage? I just need your opinion about it, and then it end up like helping them. Yeah, because some of the friends that I have didn't have guitar at all. Even they are like a guitarist and then have a lot of shows, but they don't have guitars, and then like said, yeah, just using mine. Yeah, and then it also make me happy to see that. Yeah, and then I recently have more time to spend on Doomwood. Yeah, but Doomwood is always be on that range of, I think, more affordable custom boutique kind of style, because I try to encourage friends that want to order to using like the highest quality of parts and pickups and everything as possible, but some of them have a really tight budget, so only friends that coming from overseas that are able to work with that kind of project. So I also was thinking to make another company that making a higher grade of guitar. just to keep it Doomwood affordable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of company also complaining because how Doomwood set the pricing is really low. Like they said like Doomwood is lowballing the
Yeah.
industry, so that's also making me I don't know how to react. I it make me happy, but I'm sad at the same time because
Yeah.
I supposed to be selling it like at a higher price. Like some of the friends said like it just like the best guitar that they play.
Mm.
Like it's a really good compliment for me.
Mm.
But it was very very I don't know how to react to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it means a good or bad compliment is still a compliment. Yeah.
Um, so I know with Deathless also you've been working on some new recorded material and you have some stuff coming out. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. At the le- I think at last year in Spatial that I able to record my stuff with my some of my friends to as a collaborator, and it's eventually gonna out as an album next month,
Mm.
December 2019, uh, by a label from Jakarta called Black Orb. Yeah, they have like various artists that also great friends of mine, Tristan the Wild, and also Gulf of Meru and Logic Loss, and then yeah, some of the friends that I also playing, say, or sharing stage with. So I am looking forward to that. And then some of other new material. I actually have 6 songs that been recorded on studio, but I'm planning to add more song into an album maybe next year for early next year. And some of the new stuff that maybe I mm, will be part of the singles. Yeah, new singles. I still working on my new system. It's on Euro because it's like very small. It causing new problem because I have a big hand because like all the knobs and then the patch cable is really small as well. Everything is so tight. I'm trying to set up the system work really well with me. It working fine with me now, but since I have like bunch of stuff and then some other uh, tools that I use, and then that's involving a MIDI cable that I need to work on it, yeah, for a while. But I think I also ready to playing in a show with this set system.
Mm.
Yeah, but the good thing is, yeah, I don't need to worry with the weight of the setup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been asking people what's going on in their city that's exciting in the music scene and that's exciting or inspiring or that you think is interesting.
Yeah, I meet a lot of really good people, and then also inspired me. Like, uh, I able to meet friends and then set up a show under the Subtractive Collective.
Yeah.
Which is an audio visual experimentation, and we have held some of the shows, and then bigger shows and then smaller shows under substantive, and then subtractive have been held two times. In the first one in Spatial, in the mid last year, and then in French Institute in Jakarta, like in December last year. So it's just like the new way or the new platform for me to do the the show, because I able to more discuss more about the creating music, the creative work behind the making of the music from the different individuals.
Mm.
So that's very exciting for me. Yeah, we set up some shows, uh, like meeting people like Tesla Manav. Now he's under the moniker of Kuntari. And I was knowing him as like a jazz guitarist, and then he's very talented. And then when he's first playing with all of the electronic kind of stuff, that are able to give him shows in Spatial, and then now he's becoming more explore, like he's playing like all over this place, and then it's really good. And then I meet some other friends, Logic Loss, Gulf of Meru, also Remedy Waloni from Trees and Wild also playing. Yeah, Gardika Gigi. So now playing more experimental.
Yeah.
That it's not very common for like very trained musician like him. But it's really very interesting. Yeah, and yeah, it's really really nice. Yeah, Tommy Hazarta he's currently in Netherlands to school. We planning to set up another show when he's coming back, because he's always being part of us. Yeah, and yeah, a lot of meeting a lot of friends. That's very exciting for me. Yeah, and then also there's a lot of like new friends that playing on the more experimental stuff, and then that's making me happy because I always like see them playing, and then they are really really good and then very talented. Yeah.
That's great. Where can people find your music online or
It's
your
been
other
a while
stuff?
that I put music online, but my old stuff can be found at Deathless Doom .bandcamp.com, and also the Deathless music at the SoundCloud.
Yep.
And maybe some other will be on the digital platform through the label.
Yeah.
When the new album coming out. Yeah.
And on Instagram, you're posting bits and pieces of things you're working on
Yeah.
as well, right?
Yeah. I sometimes I put the stuff on Instagram on my Instagram account called Deathless Rams, and then through the hashtag Deathless Noir.
Yeah.
And then also the Instagram Deathless Noir recently. Yeah.
Cool. I'll link to all of those when we post the podcast. Is there anything you want to add before we finish?
Just come and play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come to Bandung.
Come to Bandung. Let's have fun here.
Yeah.
Set up shows, everything. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much, Rembo.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Porous Borders. If you're interested in exploring more underground music from the Asia-Pacific region, you can check out my YouTube channel, Concrescence Records. You can find the link to that in the show notes. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review in the iTunes store. If you have suggestions or feedback and you want to get in touch, you can email the show at porousborders@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram at @ANDRWMH.